que con su poder ella nos protege. Ven para que baile, para que goce la rumba moderna. Si tú no sabes, ven para que aprendas. Porque aquí yo te traigo una escuela. Que el sabor que te traigo no se compra en la tienda. Es todo el mundo aquí, vamos a vacilar. Presentando a Casio que en el quinto comienza. Tremendo temblor. 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 Tremendo temblor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Your Mind Matters. Today is November the 9th. I know that because today is my wife's birthday.
Let's get
Happy
it.
birthday, Arkelisha. I want to get it out of the way, so I don't want to miss it. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday
Happy
to
birthday.
you. She'll be wearing that crown all day that she got for her birthday. And the princess is here today, and she's got her crown on, too.
Yep.
And so maybe she'll do a little bit of work today. We'll see.
Bold assumption.
I know it's a
I'm already
bold
distracted by the sanitizer.
I know. So, I mean, I'm going to need you to look that way.
Is that lemon scented?
See, this is what I have to deal with. Now you see what it looks like here, Abby.
God, it is lemon
Two
scented.
people working. Me and Abby are working today, and then we brought this one here.
I'm
She's
the
back. She
comedic
got
relief.
She got her hair
Yes.
done, so she's here. But we're in the house. Good morning, Abby. How you doing?
Morning.
Yes. And you're listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRU.org. We're Savannah Sound News Community Radio with Global Soul. And we're going to pick up where we left off last weekend, for those who were listening, right? What were we talking about last weekend, Abby?
We were a little all over the place.
That's where we go.
That is where we go.
That's the show.
I know. I love it.
That's the show.
I love it.
Right. You know, it's organic.
Yes.
I like that term, organic.
Yes.
That means that it grows out of, what, nothing?
Nothing.
I don't know.
We create it.
We create it right
create
here.
it.
Right here. It's not.
We're winging it.
We don't. And,
We're winging it.
Winging is a whole other word.
Yeah.
Winging means that we're not really. We have no direction. We have a direction.
Right.
Some days when you and I are here, we don't have a direction.
That
we
is
just
true.
roll up here and it's like, all right,
That's true. That's very true.
let's get it.
That's true. That's truly organic.
I'm hungry.
That's truly organic. So where did we leave off last time? And now that we have our resident millennial with us.
Yes.
up?
and
That's why I was so
important.
excited.
We wanted to have her here because we talked about millennials last time, and we didn't have one here to talk with.
I
So
know.
we had to kind of surmise.
Yes. And so we have
last week.
You get your hair
get
done.
your hair done.
You forgot already? You got
what?
20 pounds of hair on your head
It's
now.
been a week already.
I'm surprised you can wear that. It's amazing.
It's not that heavy.
You certain?
Yeah, I don't feel it.
Well, it's wintertime now, so at least your head is warm.
Yeah.
Right? Your ears are warm.
My
She
scalp's
can't even
not
wear the
warm.
headphones.
Nope. I'm
She's
winging
got
it.
too much hair on her head.
Too much.
It's so pretty,
And
though.
it's supposed to last until January.
Supposed to.
Supposed to, because see what she
Quit pulling on it.
There you go. They'll all fall out by.
No, because this is crocheted in and then knotted, so it really shouldn't.
It's amazing.
Give.
I always wondered how they did that. Now that she's the first person in my family that's had it done that I know, and it's amazing.
How long did it take?
4 hours.
4 hours.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah, with the wash and dry too. And I wasn't her only client that day either.
Oh, my word.
So this is what. So when I see young ladies with all that hair,
So much hair.
I was wondering how was it done,
Yeah.
right? And but they
How do they not walk around with their head to the side?
I don't know, but
It's so heavy.
It's not. She says it's
It's not
heavy
heavy at all. Like after the first day, I really stopped feeling it.
It would be like wearing a motorcycle helmet all day to me.
I would think.
Well, the heaviness, the weight also depends on what kind of hair you get. This is all synthetic, and it's. I purposely asked the people at the store, like, how heavy is this going to be?
Yeah.
Because I got a big head.
So 5 minutes. That was 5 minutes of your hair.
Yep.
right?
That sounds about right. That's usually how we start.
Okay, and so we got
5 minutes of straight nonsense.
Yes, that's not nonsense. Now that people will see that, they'll know it's not that Evan. You can do it too. Evan, you can do it.
Yes, no, I used to get cornrows all the time. Yeah.
Right on. What happened?
I got one good sunburn on my scalp.
Oh,
and that really prevented that
Gotcha.
from again. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's kind of a.
This is getting interesting.
I felt like we were.
This is getting interesting.
Oh wow! So anyway, we were talking about.
We're talking about suicide, and I'm curious to know, from our millennials' perspective, what your views on it are with millennials.
Oy.
I know, it's a big old question. I mean, we know that there's a lot of awareness out there.
Oh yeah.
And so, how is your generation seeing that awareness? Is it becoming? I mean, how many people do you at your school, high school? Was anybody at your high school committed suicide or attempted?
I have to think. Really
Well, you
far
got
back.
friends. I mean, that
Yeah,
have
I got
attempted
friends,
or
but I gotta think far back.
Far back, oh,
that long ago.
High school was a long time
50
ago.
now, right?
It was a long time ago.
I can remember high school. I can tell you how many in my high school did, and none that I knew of. Mm-hmm. But I'm certain some had probably, you know, had a.
Well, I think, and one of the things that for me personally, in terms of this kind of conversation, is more of a, I guess, benefit is I came from a small high school.
Right.
Like my graduating class, there was 50 of us. So we all knew each other.
Yeah,
Right.
because your high school was a program until it became a full high school.
Yeah, now they're high school and they have to abide by the rules.
Right.
But with us,
I mean, I think you remember off the top of your head of 50 students.
I don't think anybody.
nobody committed suicide, but we had a few like attempts. We had a few, and I know personally because I had to talk one of my closest friends out of suicide numbers of times.
Okay, that's a good example. So because we were kind of talking about the emotional stress that millennials take on and words that you use that even at my age, when I was your age, that just wasn't something that I thought about because I was a kid till I was 25, I feel like.
I was a
I'm
kid
still
till
a kid.
25.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
You just matured.
So what
Right,
was,
'cause I haven't fully matured.
Not even close.
well, he's a man.
He's graduated to teenager.
Oh, that's a whole. We're taking the show in a whole other direction. I'm a man. That was a shot across the bow.
That is an
Yes.
interesting social thing, though.
Yeah, we that's a good place to go. But, let's stay on.
Well, yeah, so what was her issues? Mental health? Was it eating disorders? Was
kind of
it
stressors?
depression?
Right,
Stressors?
what kind of stuff? Yeah, what?
Grades? Friends?
Well, especially
Because
with,
y'all talk about being stressed all the time. I mean, right now she has friends.
Yeah, I got friends that go. Even to this day, I got friends that are going
and when
through.
she talks, it's like this one's stressed, that
This one's
one's doing
stressed
this,
out. This
this
one's doing
one's,
this.
and I'm like,
This one's stress eating.
Jesus.
This one bought 2 more scorpions. This one's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a friend who's got scorpions now. One of them's missing.
Oh.
He knows who he is if he's listening to this. He knows who he is.
Oh, my God.
They don't know who he is because they find out he got that scorpion. He'll be coming home.
I got many friends with
But the point
scorpions.
is, when
Let's
I
do
listen
that.
to you talk about your friends and yourself and the things, and Joey, you know, it's like everybody's stressed all the time. Everything is stressful.
Sure, everything. I
Everything.
mean, one of the
and
things.
that's the difference with us. And so maybe we talked about, you know, on the show, maybe it's that you have more of a vocabulary to use than we had. Maybe we were going through the same things, but you have a different vocabulary because of your access to more knowledge than we have.
That's true. Because I think you and I were talking about it one time, you know, compared to your generation, we see so much more now because we're constantly connected to one another. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, and that's just the 5 off the top of my head. You know, we're constantly seeing one another and we're constantly seeing...
But not really.
Not really.
Not in physical.
No, not in physical form, but even with social media in terms of the millennial generation and mental health, it's also been a way for us to reach out to one another. Like,
Right.
I know when I was going through, social media wasn't as big yet.
Right.
So for me, it was more like,
Yeah, but you had friends that talked to your because you spoke the same language.
Yeah,
Because
we all
you spoke the same language, and you were accepting of one another with that through that.
and we're all coming from the same place.
Right.
Like my friends group in a social economic standpoint, we're all about even playing field, so on and so forth. So we all kind of understand, okay, yeah, most of my friends are working now. Yeah, I understand. You're stressed. You know, some of my friends have babies. You're really stressed. And almost all of my friends were all getting ready to go to grad school or in grad school. It's like, yeah, like I told you, one of my friends, he has actually blocked out time in his day to cry.
Wow.
He has a 2-hour block.
And this is, once again, I'm glad you pointed this out, because I'll use that as a segue. Do you see a difference between boys and girls, men and women, young men and women, and how they relate to stress? Because through our generation, men typically didn't emote as much about being stressed or being anxious or being depressed. But when I listen to you talk about you and your friends and people that you know, and when we talk about friends, people that you have are friends on the internet and Facebook and all these other places, all these various people you know. And then I have patients your age that talk about theirs. And so it seems like it's the same. Yeah. The boys and girls, men and women are all going through the same thing, but they're vocal about it. Whereas during my generation, men weren't vocal about being depressed or anything.
I think it's because, this generation specifically, we've come up with this, well, not come up with this, but we've come to a place where it's like, it's okay.
It's more accepting.
Yeah, you're a human being. You're supposed to emote. It's okay to emote. It's okay to cry and get angry and frustrated. It's...
And gender-specific emotions is not necessarily a thing.
Yeah. Like, I know, like, I tell Junior still to this day, if you get frustrated and anything, it's okay if you cry, dude. I'm not going to judge you. I cry twice a day, man. I'm really not going to judge you.
Yeah.
But it's also because this generation, we're getting away from that teaching of, oh, boys shouldn't cry, boys shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that. We're getting away from that. And so now we have a lot of young men who've probably always been dealing with these feelings and everything. Certainly. And now they're in a position like, okay, now I can let go. And then it starts the healing process.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. But statistically, men are more likely to commit suicide than women. I wonder if we'll start to see those statistics even out because of the emotions that men were having to suppress versus now.
Well, I know the statistic you're talking about. I remember reading it. And another thing it said further on is more men commit suicide, but more women attempt it. And right. The other part of that reason in terms of social conditioning is it's more acceptable for a woman to emote in that way. Mm-hmm. If a man tries to commit suicide and fails, mm-hmm. and he manages to survive the suicide attempt, there's this social stigma in a way of, oh, you're weak, you're this, you're that. Well, we don't see that with women. Mm-hmm. With women who attempt suicide and they're able to survive the suicide attempt, there's a lot of sympathy there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because a man, if you failed at killing yourself, well, then you're just a failure.
Yeah, you're just a straight failure.
How did you fail at that?
You failed at life, and then you tried to kill yourself. You failed at that. So,
that's
but
a
men
good.
Don't typically fail at it because they use more lethal means.
Mm-hmm. And more lethal, more violent means. That's true.
Right. Men don't typically try to women overdose. Men do permanent stuff. Blow your brains out, hang themselves, jump off bridges.
From a statistics standpoint,
right.
Statistically speaking, in terms of suicide, women are less likely to do what we consider more violent suicide options. So you see the overdoses, you see like the slitting your wrist. Those are considered more.
Of those are suicidal, and in many cases, if you put them all together, you have to separate suicidal gestures from suicide attempts.
Yes.
Men don't usually have suicidal gestures. When they do it. Mm-hmm. But women will use suicidal gestures as a way of asking for help.
That's very true.
So much less lethal means.
Mm-hmm. Middle school made that obvious real quick.
Right. Really?
Yeah, I saw more of... Now that I think about it, I saw more of my fellow classmates having those kind of suicidal gestures in middle school than I did in high school. Again, granted, I got to high school, I practically knew my whole class because we had all come from either the same middle school or the same elementary school. But middle school specifically was weird for me because I didn't know anybody in the community.
So why do you think you saw it in middle school? I mean, that's...
Identify suicidal gestures. What's the distinction here?
Like non-lethal ways.
Like cutting?
Cutting.
Yeah.
Cutting. But cutting, you got to separate. That's not a suicidal gesture. Cutting, you got to separate cutting as a form of self-mutilation and taking emotional pain and turning it into physical pain.
I saw a lot of that.
And that's not a suicidal gesture.
Okay.
That's just cutting. Right?
Okay.
But
Burning,
I saw...
cutting, and that becomes a way, and usually women do it. Men you don't normally do it. There are some, but it's very rare. You don't see men that usually cut themselves.
What is the meaning behind that, you think?
Between men and women doing it? Well, I think part of the reason is that men don't turn emotional pain into physical pain. You know, they tend to just stuff it as much as they can and let it go. And there's different types of pain. You know, men deal with different stressors. Young men in particular deal with different stressors than women do.
Yep.
And so they're also not conditioned by other women, young women, to do it. Most young men don't have a friend who does that. And
That's
so it's
true.
one of these things that girls kind of pick up from other girls.
Yeah.
Like eating disorders as well. A lot of that, they'll pick up the idea to do it from another girl. Boys don't usually cope that way. Where boys are more, they project their feelings. Girls tend to pull their feelings in.
Yep.
And so boys tend to be more violent toward other boys, not themselves. And so if they're depressed, and you see it in men. You see it in men that are going through all sorts of illnesses, to include PTSD. A lot of it, like we talked about before, you see a lot of anger that's projected on people around them. Whereas women that are going through PTSD tend to isolate themselves more and project that violence on themselves. So women are more vessels for emotions, and men are more projectors. Men don't usually turn emotions inward on them. And if they do, then you're looking at things like self-medicating, where in many cases they may start doing things like drinking and knowing that it's destroying them. But this is a socially acceptable way of
To cope.
before to cope. And to in some cases where they become hopeless, not only just cope, but they realize the damage that it's doing to their body, and that it's probable that it will lead to their demise. And so as we talked before about that not being listed down as a suicide attempt.
Yeah.
But people that are
Yeah.
not taking their medications, not eating right, not doing the things they need to do to take care of themselves, drinking, smoking, doing those sorts of things in excess, knowing it's damaging their health. These are people, men and women, that may have decided that, listen, this is the way I'm going out, and the quicker the better.
Yeah.
And we missed that, but once again, what can we do about that? Because that's a choice.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
a
yeah.
choice. You know, people can drink as much as they want to drink.
Yeah.
can't
Well,
really-
then we fall into the addiction part of it. So then
Yes.
is it really a choice?
It's
But no, by a choice, I
multifaceted.
mean, as a society, we give
except-
people the choice to not be treated for that addiction.
Yep.
You know, so when we look at the medical model for addiction, yes, you're right. Is it a choice? The first drink is a choice. And then even then, there's some controversy about that because there are people that are hardwired. And we know now, looking at genetic models, that there are people that are hardwired. Their brain is more, and in some cases now, interestingly enough, there's new research that shows that these people, millennial ago, may have been more successful because these are the people that wanted the instant gratification and they sought it out. So things like food, sex, these are the people that made it more, got more food, were healthier because they wanted that instant gratification, right? And so they were more successful. So is there a wonder why this gene is lasted through humanity all these years?
And now it's not necessarily, it doesn't really correlate with success. In fact, instant gratification is correlated with lots of other negative things.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting.
So, you know, as we learn more, and once again, I've always told people we live in the dark ages of the mind still, but we're learning things every day about things. So this reality that we have of addiction and the medical model of it and the genetic model of addiction has lasted throughout man's history, and it's maybe one of the reasons that mankind has survived. And so, of course, that gene will survive.
Yeah.
But we don't need that one anymore because food is plentiful for the most part.
Right.
Right? You know, mates are plentiful. And so the idea of maintaining that gene pool is that you don't need that anymore, but it's still there.
Yeah.
And now it turns into things like being addicted to drugs, sex, gambling, whatever it is.
How
So that brain may have been the more successful brain then, but it's not now
Right.
because we have different things to be addicted to.
Well, that, and then the social construct is different.
Yes. It's
Oh,
totally different.
So have you had a drink ever in your life?
Yes.
Oh Lord, that's a good question.
That's a fun question. Yes.
She
Okay.
said like 3.
3 in her life.
Are we counting champagne in that conversation?
no,
okay.
champagne doesn't
No,
count.
no.
What?
So yeah, I've had. Has it really been 3?
It's been 3. One real drink. You only had one real drink on you didn't even have that on your 21st birthday.
I didn't drink on my 21st birthday.
No,
I didn't
you had
want
that
to.
one when we dropped Junior off at the thing.
Oh,
at the thing.
yeah.
We had that apple
I had the sour apple frosty thing from
That's
Wet
when she got the
Willie's.
nickname Drunky McStuffins.
Wet Willie's, that's like candy, man.
Yeah, she drank it and was happy as even
The
when
next thing I know, I'm running 5 blocks in the rain.
She literally dancing in the rain.
Yes.
It was
I didn't get
hilarious.
windy.
No.
It was
And poor
hilarious.
Junior is just standing on the boat like, oh, God, I hope, because we went to the same high school. He's like, oh, God, I hope none of the teachers see this. I hope none of the teachers can see this because they know who you are.
Yeah, but alcohol is she's definitely not even a lightweight. She's a flyweight when it comes.
I get lit on wine coolers.
Yeah. So yeah,
I had bought a 6-pack and I still have 3 left.
and that was like a year ago.
Yeah, it's been about a year. I hold on to them.
Yeah.
That's good. That's great.
But she didn't grow up. She didn't grow up.
I didn't grow up
Drinking as a
drinking.
teenager.
I actually would get mad at my classmates who did.
Yeah, you didn't.
So I'm like,
grow up.
you're like 15. What are you doing? Because we had one classmate, and I didn't know this about him until our senior year of high school. But it got out that he always came to school with one of those travel coffee cups. And so it finally got out that he had vodka in that cup every single day of high school. And I only found that out because one of my friends and another classmate decided enough was enough. And they took it when he left. They took his cup and they opened it and they just filled it up with water to dilute it completely. And they were like, okay, let's see if he notices. I don't know if he did, but
He's probably drunk by that time.
it's probably already gone by that time. And then I had
15
another.
years old and
had
drinking when you pretty much get up in the morning.
Yeah,
That's so
like
dangerous.
that would be his coffee. It would
Yeah.
be a full thing of vodka, and he'd have that throughout the day. And I had another friend who she told me she had been drinking since she was like 12. She started with what are they, peach blinis?
I have no idea.
I don't know. It's peach vodka
drink
and
fruity
orange
drinks.
juice. But I know that's what she said she would drink.
It's like a fuzzy navel.
yeah.
I don't know. She said peach blini, but then again,
It's a drink. I don't know.
then again, I don't trust her judgment to this day.
Well, if anybody starts drinking at 12, I would be a little concerned. If you're drinking regularly from 12, her brain may not,
Well,
That's the other thing. Kids starting that stuff when their brains are still developing.
if it helps, I
marijuana.
call her stupid. If it
I
helps.
know, we know. But marijuana is another one that, is on the rise now, and we know that kids are using it at a much earlier age than they used to. And not just and the marijuana that they're using now is much stronger than it was, a couple of decades ago. So for parents, that remember the good old days when they smoked the joint here and there in high school or smoked a lot of it back then, kids are smoking the marijuana they're using is much stronger.
Wow, I didn't know that.
yes,
I
Lord.
heard acid was much stronger then.
Oh yeah,
Back then,
yeah.
than it is now.
So I assumed
that's why
weed
we have
was
like
too.
synthetic stuff, and that's the other thing is we have a lot of synthetic stuff in the market now too.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was in criminal justice for high school, my teacher was telling us about how they had this new synthetic strand of bath salts.
Well, bath salts themselves are synthetic.
Yeah, but like this whole new thing, because he was telling us about how he had this call, and they had this guy that they were trying to get, and this dude took a shotgun blast to the chest and was still coming at him.
Yeah.
And he was like, this stuff just
We had a guy that eat a man's face behind.
bath salt. Yeah, bath
Yeah,
salt.
so
salt's
I
been-
don't think you see bath salts that much anymore.
I
do you?
don't. I think those stories kind of.
Yeah, I think
faded
they kind of
out.
got rid of the bath
Yeah.
salts, and now
You got
Who came onto that though? I was like, I want to try this. I want to try these bath salts.
well, that goes to why do people want to get high?
yeah.
Why would here's a sane person.
Well, okay, I remember in 6th grade, and I knew that I always wanted to try marijuana.
Okay,
I knew that it was cool
gotcha.
from the movies, like, I don't know, Dazed and Confused and stuff. I always knew I wanted to try it. And I remember my friends being like, I'm never going to try pot.
Gotcha.
I'm never going to try marijuana. And I was like, what? As soon as I'm offered, I am going to try it.
As soon as I
find somebody,
As soon as I find somebody that will share it, I'm going to try it.
Gotcha. All right. Go
And
ahead.
so my first time, I smoked it out of a Coke can.
Okay.
All right, that's a thing.
All right.
And I lost my voice, and I had to sing in a play that night.
Wow.
And so I don't know if it's true. I can't really remember because I was like 15. But you don't get high the first time. is what I
don't know.
So I didn't. So I just
heard
lost
that.
my
I've heard
voice,
that.
coughed, probably, wet my pants, coughing so hard, and then
heard
I
that.
couldn't even sing that night. So
Gotcha.
I just remember it was such a bad experience.
Okay.
And then, of course, my other friends who were like, I'm never going to smoke. They smoked, and they had great experiences. So
And then what happened after that? Was that like, now
that
that
was-
you were looking forward to this
Right, and
this
that-
big reveal, and then it's like, well,
that
That
was like
drinking.
yeah, that happened.
That's how I
drinking
felt with
some,
drinking. Because I had a lot of friends and a lot of classmates who've been drinking since we were in high school, and I just got to the point where I was like, okay, yeah, I turned 21, I'll turn up. Let's get it.
And your
I
turning
had
up didn't turn.
one drink,
Yeah.
and the next thing I know, I'm singing "Kumbaya, My Lord" on the couch.
Yes. So
Like,
so
no,
inevitably,
thank
a lot of
you.
times it is, and maybe that's what deters some, right? But the question becomes is it a genetic thing that you try it, you're gonna get hooked, or you're gonna love it, or what happens with it?
Right.
So what happened after that? After your first marijuana experience?
Well, a lot of my friends were drinking in high school, and I was not drinking. I would always get sick. They loved to split a bottle of liquor with me because they knew that like they would drink it, and I would have 2 sips, and I'd be like, "Ugh, I don't want
Never
any more."
mind, you can have that.
Right. I never turned down any pot that was brought my way. I started to get the feel for it. Yeah, I started to get the feel for it.
You start to.
Yes, and then the gummies and stuff that came out here in the last 10 years. I mean, I give those to my mom too. Yeah.
Right on.
I mean, they're great.
Yes. I mean, they work well for a number of different things.
Yeah, mainly just the body pain kind of
just
the
feel
aches
like
of getting
that.
older. Yeah, but the mental of it, because there's these 2 strands of marijuana, and one's that indica and one is
Indica and
sativa. Right, and indica is like in the couch.
In the couch, you locked
In the
in.
couch, you locked in, right?
Heavy body.
Right.
Heavy body feeling.
And then the other one is totally in your head, and I've gotten so stoned that it was too aware. I was too aware of everything going on, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die one day. Oh my gosh, my mom's going to die. Oh my God. Like,
Yes.
just the reality of everything hit so hard that I just laid there on my couch like 2 hours, and I just couldn't wait to sober up.
Just couldn't wait to get this feeling.
Get
off.
it over with. So, it's all in. Yeah, no, I hope I'm really talking this up
Well,
for
now,
you.
and now the thing about marijuana is, as we're talking about, I'm thinking about my time when I grew up, when I was your age. Marijuana wasn't a big thing, but alcohol was. But I think it also depended on the circles you ran in.
That's true.
It definitely wasn't as big of a thing as it is today,
Yeah.
where marijuana, the culture, and everything is so viable.
Yeah.
Back then, it was the same culture that had come out of the 70s and 80s, 60s. It was there. Certain people did it, but I don't even remember people that I grew up with that I can look back at now and say, yeah, I know you probably did, because they do it now. So there's such advocates for marijuana today at 50.
Yeah.
That my guess is they were using back then.
Right.
Yeah.
But those that we did know were using a substance, it was usually alcohol and cigarettes.
And cocaine?
No.
Cocaine.
No. During when I was growing up, cocaine as a drug, a recreational drug, one, it was too expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it depends on the community you grew up in.
Yeah.
Right.
In the community I grew up in lower middle class communities, cocaine was a non-starter.
Right.
Crack, on the other hand,
I was going to say,
but crack was
the rich man's.
crack was, if you got hooked on crack, it was something you got hooked on. Here's a rule: there are no recreational crack users. Okay, anybody that tells you, I just smoke crack I smoke a little. No, you don't.
Smoke it every now
You're
and
a
again.
crackhead.
I knew a cokehead in middle school.
There's no such animal
Different.
as a crack.
I just
Now,
never thought about
cocaine,
that.
you can function. You go to work, and I'm not an advocate for cocaine, but I'm just saying you can be on cocaine. The plenty of successful people right now today are using cocaine first thing in the morning. You get that bump to get going. But if you wake up in the morning and you have a glass pipe, you are a crackhead, and life is not good for you. I promise you.
Yeah.
So if you've been deluding yourself into thinking that I'm a recreational crack user,
You are not.
you are not.
It's
You are a
okay. but it's okay,
crackhead.
You are not.
Get on the scale, check your weight first. I guarantee you've lost 50 pounds. Open your fridge.
Look around.
Look around. Look around.
You're probably in.
Look at, as they used to say, look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, oh neighbor, are you smoking crack too?
Yeah.
Now, We're laughing, but the truth of the matter is because I've done a lot of work at addiction. I've done a lot of work with people that are addicted. And and the reason why I'm so passionate about it, because it's always amazed me to have someone that I'm looking at and I know, you've got all the signs and it's on paper, your drug of choice is cocaine. We don't have to, I don't know it's not powder cocaine because powder cocaine doesn't do that normally to people. I know you're smoking crack. First of all, socioeconomically, you're not addicted to cocaine because it costs too much money. Right? You ain't, powder ain't your game. You use the poor man's cocaine, which is crack.
Right.
So I got that. And I remember talking to a lady once in the Chatham County Jail. And we started this discussion about, what she was using. And so I said, you use crack cocaine? And she said, oh yeah. I just use it recreationally. So that was my first, right? Okay. I said, well, let me ask you, when was the last time you smoked some crack? Oh, I don't know. About 6 months ago, she said. I said, okay. So we talked some more. We talked a little bit longer. I said, by the way, when did you say was the last time you smoked crack? Oh, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago. I said, okay, all right.
Nice little method there you got.
And you just keep going. And I kept doing it.
So once it goes 6
By
hours
the time
ago.
we got to the end, she was like, okay, Doc, I smoked some crack yesterday. That's how, and I got inside, and I wish I had some crack. Right, because you are a crack addict. Crack doesn't work like, you don't use a little bit. And then I'm going to use a little bit tomorrow. You want to use a little bit, then you use a little bit in an hour, you use a little bit again and again. Same thing with meth. There are no recreational.
Meth is
bunch
something.
of meth heads in middle school.
Now that's a whole other thing because of where we live down here in the South, and this part of the area, meth is big.
Yeah, because we always joked, and this is nothing against Effingham County, but in middle school, Effingham County.
Yeah, everybody knows.
I had 3 people in my class that were from Effingham, and all 3 of them did meth.
What is it sociologically that people want? We just rotate from drug to drug to drug.
There's a lot of people that I know, and they'll, I'll find meth or hear something about meth, or their energy is just like crazy, or So I'd ask, and it's always a defensive. No, of course not. No, I would never do that. No. So I've even given a friend a drug test. Like, here, just take I need to know if I'm maybe I'm losing it.
Right.
It came up, meth, whatever, amphetamines. And then they tried to say, oh, I took an Adderall. So that's why. So there's always these ways around it. But I'm learning that I think that meth is like the poor man's Adderall.
Yeah, it is.
Because a lot of people can't function without it. But when they do, they are working for 3 days straight. And I know the social factors involved in why we see drugs in these small towns versus big cities, but I don't know this meth thing, just more and more people that I am meeting and knowing, they say they do it recreationally too, but that's also one of those drugs I just don't know if you can do it recreationally.
I don't think there are any recreational meth
heads, right?
Meth heads. I don't think, anything that's head attached to it, that means that's you now. Right? Crackhead. Pothead. Meth head. Mm-hmm. Right? And wino, which is alcoholics.
Right.
That like
Boozers.
We have 100 for alcohol because it's been around longer.
Yes.
Right. But evidently Adolf Hitler was a meth head.
Shut up.
He was.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Why do you think he made all those wacky decisions?
Well,
a lot of it was. Yeah, he was.
We're
on
not going to
meth.
debate that.
Yeah, he was on a cocktail.
So this charisma thing that he had that took over the world was just meth invoked?
Yeah, meth and a whole bunch of other chemicals he was putting in his body. He had doctors that were putting all sorts of cocktails in him to keep him up, to get him last long, and eventually just his brain just went,
Brain just scrambled and set him out.
But thankfully so, because he made a whole bunch of bad decisions that led to them losing the war. Imagine if he hadn't been using meth.
This would be a different conversation.
It would be a different world.
Imagine if Donald Trump used meth.
Maybe he does.
I don't know, but I just threw that out there. I'm
not having that
anymore.
conversation.
But I just could only imagine, what if Donald Trump used meth?
I don't want to think about that.
Now that you've got me thinking that you've got all these people putting these cocktails together for them and keeping them going because they're like this. I'm thinking right now Michael Jackson.
Well, Michael Jackson got addicted, from my understanding, to opiates after he got burned during the Pepsi commercial.
Oh.
When he got the scalp burn.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that
and
in high
he
school.
started using opiates, and then he couldn't put the pain. He was taking the opiates, but then he couldn't sleep. And then he
Right.
was sleeping.
So they were pretty much having to medically keep him, or
Yeah.
with pharmaceuticals, keep him up, down, up, down.
And I mean, a lot of successful people, a lot of people that you know out there, are on a number of medications to keep them going, so they can
Sure.
go to work, so that they can function. And a lot of people don't even know, and it's not for them to know. The problem is when it gets to the point that they no longer realize that their health is in danger,
Yeah.
but they're just trying, and that's not hard to. It's not a hard place to find yourself. When
No.
you're trying to. You have to keep working. You have to keep going. You know,
Right.
We're talking about the opiate crisis. What are we going to do for all of these people once we start phasing opiates out that are suffering with chronic debilitating pain? How are they going to work? And we have a system that doesn't want to support. We don't want to have a social safety net. So what are we going to do with all of these people that are working right now on opiates? What
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Are you going to do when you take them, and what are you going to replace it with? Marijuana is looking like it may be a viable option.
Yes.
And that's why Georgia has the low THC CBD program, which I've been using with my patients and found to be, just a godsend, because it doesn't affect their ability, their cognition. It doesn't affect their ability to do things, so they don't really get high.
Yeah.
But the little bit of THC in it activates the CBD. But once again, that's different CBD than you buy over the counter here in Georgia.
Right.
Georgia will probably by 2021, once they get a committee together to write the rules, but they already have it on the books.
Yeah. Good.
We've got the law in the books. Now we just need to establish the criteria for the dispensaries here in Georgia so people can get low THC CBD. So Georgia's kind of ahead of the curve when it comes to
Absolutely.
I can't even believe that.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
we just now started
Republican
serving.
governor actually put up last year added PTSD and
I saw that.
something else to the list. So PTSD is the first Axis 1 psychiatric disorder that we have in Georgia that we can treat with low THC.
How do you distribute the?
Comes in an oil form, and right now patients are able to get it from places like Colorado. One place in particular Haley's Hope, that knows that Georgia doesn't have their own dispensaries, and then they're able to order it and get it from them, and it comes in a oil form. Like I said, they just take it as a dropper. You can put it on food, or you can just
That would be illegal for somebody who didn't have.
didn't have the card.
Got
Yes,
it.
yes. Now, once again, illegal is still federally, because the federal government has not declassified marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
It's still on the schedule. But as far as the federal government is concerned, my understanding is that they've kind of said, if
To
the
each state
states-
their own.
Right, we'll just kind of look the other way.
Yeah.
Right, we'll look the other way. That's what Jeff Sessions was looking at changing when he was the Attorney General, and which was an agreement where, but that may have been a political bludgeon for the Western states. That may have been more of a political thing. 'Cause I don't know that Jeff Sessions has always been a staunch opponent of marijuana. I know Boehner had been the Speaker of the House, Boehner, but now he's doing commercials for marijuana in New Jersey.
Everything changes once you get that first hit.
Everything,
Everything changes. That's all I'm
got-
gonna say.
I'm not going to say
think
Boehner got high. Maybe I think he may have some family members. somebody that's
Research
suffering.
has shown so much with
Right.
these children who are having seizures and
But the research had always been there. I think, unfortunately, it boils down to who's going to make the money.
Yep.
And when you're in a position that you can make money from it,
Yep.
yeah.
but that's being very cynical. I also like to say maybe people like Boehner had a come to Jesus meeting and realize that, first of all, no one's overdosed. As far as we know, no one's died from an overdose of
Right.
marijuana yet.
Right. And these other pharmaceutical drugs are harmful
Yes.
more so than helpful.
And unfortunately, opiates have their place, no question. I'm not going to be an advocate or opponent for chronic opiate use. They have their place when it comes to acute pain. And they also have their place on the far end of the spectrum when it comes to chronic pain, because we're behind the power curve when it comes to pain management.
Yeah.
We're not putting, but once again, that speaks to, and we really need our friend back with healthcare ethics to have her on the show, because this is how the show evolves. We got to this point. The host prior to this, Katie, because, she would understand all of the nuances that go into why we don't and over the years we haven't put more money into the research for chronic pain. Now, my simple answer would be that we don't put research, unfortunately, into things that don't make money and don't support those that are making money. So as long as we have something to say, okay, this is for pain relief and it works and it keeps people anesthetized, so be it. These people are either going to work or they're not. Some of them will work, some won't. But but we tend to put money in this place where it involves either powerful people or a segment of the population that we find more viable.
Right. Okay. I could totally see
So from
that.
a sociology standpoint, is that
Yes, that makes perfect sense. Financially, but anything kind of like somebody said, one of the doctors that was friends with my mom said, we could cure cancer, but where would the money be in keeping us alive with cancer and healing us and all this? And the same thing with
it's a good question.
HIV and AIDS. They could cure it, but where would the money be if we didn't consistently keep people on medicines?
And that's a whole other debate.
I had a teacher that said that.
So that means that the system that we're dealing with isn't purely ethical.
Welcome to
or
late
moral.
stage capitalism. I've been saying this for
Laissez-faire
ever.
capitalism has
I said late stage.
Oh,
This is late stage capitalism.
Well, that's a whole other. That's a show in a show.
political show.
It's a show in a show. See how we went
We gotta
from.
get Sister Girl from the last show for that one.
That's how we went from suicide to drug
Weed.
abuse to. but it's all. But to wrap it all up, I mean, it's all.
It all can kind of go hand in hand.
Goes together because we're talking about how generations do things differently now. And I'll ask the question, I always ask the question, why do Americans, and I'm not sure if you know, do Americans use more drugs than the rest of the Western world? Or the rest of industrialized
Yeah,
people like us?
sure.
Do we use more drugs recreationally than other countries?
We definitely have higher pharmaceutical
Okay,
intake than other countries.
gotcha.
And a lot of it has to do with our individuality, our kind of selfishness, our wanting to, we have these things accessible where in Iran or whatever, I mean, your entire day is a little more paranoid. You don't have anything you want to escape with. You're not looking for these recreational drugs. You're trying to maybe even just survive the day.
That's true.
So we've got a couple of things. One, you don't have the luxury in other places because you're just trying to survive.
Right.
You make certain the basic needs are met.
Right.
So in countries that don't have as much as we have, you're just trying to have safety, security, food, water.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now the next thing would be what? That we've got all of that, but we're still not happy.
Right.
We got too much time on our hands.
Right. And so, like, if you notice, drugs can usually isolate you.
Yes.
The more individualized we are, which is what we are in our country, if you look at these other countries that are very, very much more communal,
That's true.
you have people, and you don't see all these people doing drugs together. You just see them existing.
Yep.
And
Unless they're using drugs for sacraments and things like that.
right.
Right, which is different.
So,
Not recreational use.
and so it's really, I think, again, goes back to the need for that human interaction and constant community versus individuality, which is
Yeah,
really
'cause
dangerous.
With us as Americans, we're one of the few cultures, I believe, where individuality is like the driving point.
Well,
Right.
You want to break away from your family. You want to break away from
Right.
everything and be out on your own because that's what it means to be an American. But then the
Right.
long run, it's like I am alone.
Yes.
The funny thing about it is where that came from had always fascinated me. And one of the things, I was reading an article the other day about they're looking into how the Catholic Church affected this idea of Western individuality. And the idea,
Oh, boy.
and because
Always comes
when
back
people
to that.
lived in clans and groups, the way you're talking, people lived in familial organizations. They were also able to pass down property through that. So you were
Yeah.
maintain it. So you married your cousin, right?
You kept
and then
your house.
Kept your house, but there was also a social safety net through that. People took care of each other.
Right.
But the idea was, and maybe not necessarily. It maybe was a little nefarious. I don't know. But the idea is that when the Catholic Church started influencing these people's everyday life, they started changing the rules and making things like you can't marry your first cousin anymore, can't marry your sixth cousin even anymore.
That's why
because
the
idea is
abortions
to
were
break
so
the clans
controversial.
up. Because of breaking it up, the Catholic Church then bought all of that land up.
That's part of
So
why the boys.
that's one thing,
That's
and,
part of
and
why
so
the
that
Borgias
led
were
to
like
this
that.
idea of This led to this idea of a Western individuality, where instead of that communal group, which was
That's-
a way of breaking. So that's why we live in more of a nuclear family.
Always comes back to the
Mom,
Catholic Church.
dad, kids,
Always comes
instead
back
of
to-
grandparents,
I'm not gonna say much 'cause
cousins,
it's when I'm
uncles,
across the
everybody
street.
living together.
But we have to acknowledge that.
I'm not blaming the Catholic Church.
No, right,
I said there's one across the street.
But
Just
they
the articles
have
read, but
the
I'm saying-
lowest suicide rate because they are such a cohesive group and they have ritual and right from wrong. Things are very black and white and wrong and right. Catholics.
Oh, yeah.
So their suicide rates are extremely low. We actually saw some increase when the Pope changed and all the molestation cases came out because that really rocked a lot of people's
it was
worlds
whoa.
when they believed everything. So that's just really interesting that something would be like encouraging individuality when in all the other groups, like if you look at Baptists or any other Catholics have got this really, you're either, you can't even take communion with, that's how cliquey they are, but it's also a good, like it's good for you to be Catholic because you're in this support group.
And then as Catholicism moved around the globe and affected different people, it got away from, when you move into missionary work and you move into Catholic doctrine and different, it's just in religious doctrine, it also picks up the influences of the people it affects.
Oh, sure.
And so Catholics that live in one part of the world live differently than Catholics in another part of the world, just like Baptists do. So Protestants that replace it. But it was just an interesting idea.
But even if you got your Irish and Italian Catholics, they're still Catholic.
Still Catholic.
They're still getting to take communion while the others do not.
Yes.
And even that, just that one action, it says a lot because, again, I'm not down on Catholics. I admire the religion a great deal.
My grandfather's Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't say much.
Yes, I mean,
if anything, I'm just a little jealous.
I don't doubt anything because anything designed to uplift and build people.
Yeah.
Your community is a good
And you get
thing.
to wear a cool hat. The Pope wears a cool hat.
You get exercise during church, up and down and up and down.
Up and down.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Pope wears like the coolest hat.
Okay, see, here's where I'm going to stop this discussion on Catholicism because it's going off the rails with the two of y'all with the cool hat and exercise. I'm never going to make fun of Catholics or Jews or anybody else. That's not the point. But, right?
I just give you the stats on it.
I'm a Baptist. I can tell you a whole bunch of stuff about Negro Baptists.
And just give you the millennial perspective. We all are admiring the cool hat.
Well, everybody thinks the Pope's regalia is cool.
It's awesome.
I mean,
you
I have to
want
admit,
to
I
feel
do
like
too.
that.
You want
I
to
mean,
feel
you
like
want to
the
wear
pontiff
like
now.
all that stuff and feel like boss.
That's
I bet
why
you he
have the
feels
crown.
boss.
That's why you're wearing the crown today.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the Pope is boss. I mean, he's the boss.
He
but
is the
everybody-
right hand to God.
Everybody
He
wants
is,
to feel boss. Everybody.
And I think that's a good way of looking at it, is that everybody wants to feel boss in their life.
I've got a crown on.
I mean, in American society, yeah.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say that that's necessarily true anywhere else.
That's true.
I mean, and
Anywhere
that's
else.
part of the reason why we love celebrity so much.
But I think in a certain part of your life, you do want to. There's a corner of everybody's life where they want to feel boss.
yeah.
Boss.
Yeah,
Okay.
in control
Yeah. Some middle school
in your
is weird.
household.
And you have none.
I'm thinking my mom. She wakes up in the morning and the first thing that pops in her is, what am I going to feed my husband? So her first thought is about somebody else.
Okay, but then does she still? But does she feel? Does she feel empowered in her role in taking care of somebody else?
Okay, yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's a little part, even through humility.
Yeah.
People are very humble.
I'm the boss.
But at the same time, you want to feel like you have a purpose and you're achieving and living in that purpose in life. And that's
I'm
what
the
boss
captain
really
now.
turns into. Not what she's talking
I'm
about.
the captain now.
She wants to be El Jefe.
Well, that's the Aries in me.
And the only person, I'm going to tell you who the boss is at my house.
Mom.
Oh, I already
That's-
know that.
You know who that is.
Yeah.
And happy birthday to the boss.
Yes, happy
Pepper.
birthday to
Happy
the boss.
birthday, El Jefe.
Happy birthday.
I'll be home with the money shortly. I promise. I won't
Far
deviate.
back I can go.
If you fall out of that chair here with that crown on, I'm going to videotape it. I'm gonna put it on the website.
You're going to bust out your phone that quick?
Yes, I'm going to bust it out that quick. We've had a lively discussion today.
Yes.
Take a break.
Millennial back.
I was about to say, don't you have to do some house cleaning or
Well,
something?
if I don't
It's
do
too-
it, I'll do it down and finish up the show with it.
Oh.
So go ahead and read what we have right there.
All right.
Please.
So, Friends of Oatland Island will present their annual fall festival, the Harvest and Cane Grinding, featuring old-time music, cane boiling, butter making, and hay rides on Saturday, November 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Oatland Island Wildlife Center on Santon Road in Savannah. For more information, call 912-395-1212. I want to go make butter.
The Live Oak Public Library System offers local residents access to hundreds of thousands of movies, television programs,
wanna go
albums,
make butter.
audiobooks,
I've never made
ebooks,
butter before.
and digital comic books for free
listen,
on your
kids.
streaming television and mobile
Yeah, butter
devices
making.
through the Hoopla app. Supported devices include Roku, Fire, Apple TV, iPhone, and Android, among others. The selection is vast. All you'll need is your library card. Find the Hoopla app on your device and more information at liveoakpl.org.
She wants to go make butter now.
Butter.
I'm not certain that. I should have just turned your mic off and just left it off, but I decided to leave it. I wasn't going to do that to her today. She wants to go make butter. This is when she starts losing focus. So
I've lost focus 20 minutes ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I saw her pull her phone
You
out.
saw
I
her
was like,
pull her phone? Yeah,
there we
okay.
Well, I
go.
put my phone because I felt it vibrate.
I'm going to have to be
Mom
like
texts me.
the kids, leave a basket at the thing and throw your phone in.
That's
for
not
you.
going to change. I'm still going to zone out.
Okay. Well,
The
time for
joys
some
of
more
attention
medicine.
deficit.
And what are we going to talk about next week? Attention deficit. Are you going to be here next week?
I don't really get my hair done right now.
That's true. So you'll be here next week. So
I should be, unless I choose to go with Mom just to have Girls' Day and leave you and Junior home alone to fend for yourselves.
you know, we ended on Catholicism.
Yes.
How about religion and mental health?
I love it. How about religion and bereavement?
I like it.
Ooh, that's gonna be
Religion
fun.
and bereavement. Yes.
Religion, mental health.
That's
I love
what
it
we're
too.
on?
We'll just tie it all in.
We'll tie it all in together. We'll
Love
start,
it.
We'll start with religion and bereavement.
Got it.
I like it. You got it?
Yeah.
You got it? Everybody's on board?
I got friends from all kinds of factions. This is gonna be fun.
So you do your research.
You do, yeah. We'll do our
You'll
research
your
and
survey, do your
reconvene.
research, and we'll reconvene. All right. All right. So meeting's over. We want to thank y'all for listening to WRULP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRU.org. We are Savannah Sound News Community Radio with Global Soul, and from Dr. Harrison and Abby and Vicky.
I want it that way.
Remember, your mind matters. God bless.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Wala wana